Had a tree split.
You had a tree, what, Bev?
We had a tree split and fall on the roof in the backyard. But it doesn't look like we've had significant damage, but it just stopped snowing like in the last 45 minutes.
Wow.
So not safe to get up on the roof yet to look.
Oh gosh.
So yeah, it's been interesting. So, but
A little
it's all
too interesting, right? Oh, Teresa. Nice to see you.
Hey there.
Susan, Jane,
good.
Mary Ellen, Pat, Mary, and Catherine so far. Oh, good. Wendy.
I have something to share if I could.
Yes, please, Jane.
Now this
And
is
Jane,
not
remind us where you are again.
in Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
Yep.
So I bought the Chickadee Tam set when I was visiting your store last summer, and I finished it.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Wow.
I wanted
That's
to
amazing.
try something in color work, and I thought this is a good, and actually my floats and everything are pretty good.
Can you,
Wow.
Jane, would you just hold it up and talk a little bit so we're sure that the recording gets you? Yes, just talk a little.
I can talk a little. I can talk a lot if you want me to, but I had bought it last summer because I wanted to try my hand at color work, and I thought this would be a really good project to try because it's not too big and it's not too overwhelming, and I don't have any puckering. I thought it came out really good. So it's a gift from my aunt, and I think I have enough yarn left over to make another one actually.
That is amazing. I think you did so was this your first color work?
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
Well,
Bravo,
I mean, like,
bravo.
I don't think of this as color work, really. It's not the same as something like this when you really have to pay attention. So, but I know she's gonna love it. She wears Tams all the time, and so I picked it up when I was there last summer.
That
You
is
don't have the
awesome.
lobster. You don't still have the lobster one, do you?
We actually just got more of those lobsters back in stock. You mean the one that's like the dark green with the darker red?
Yeah, it's got lobsters all the way around. Yeah, I
Yes.
need that for my sister, but
It's one of our most popular ones by that designer, and sometimes like we just don't have them, but everybody loves that one. And I know actually one knitter who said she bought it as a Christmas gift because it looked Christmassy without being Christmassy, and I was like,
Yep.
yeah.
Anyway, so I thought you'd want to see it.
Yes.
I'm gonna look up the link for those so that people can know the lobster one we're talking about.
My sister lives in Virginia now, and so she doesn't get lobsters until she comes up and sees me. And that would be fun to at least use the motif on just a hat.
I put the link right in the chat if anybody's interested.
So I'll have to order it.
Happy for the show and tell, Jane. Thank you for that. And now
Another
Pat,
Jane. Oh, wait a minute, sorry.
another, yeah, Jane, thank you. Yes.
We need more light here. I'll have to get some more light and then I'll show you.
Okay, while we're waiting, I'm gonna ask Pat. Pat, are you wearing the inclination towel?
Oh,
All
That's
finished.
pretty.
Isn't it pretty?
So wait, that's your shift, right?
That's my shift.
That's your shift. Okay, sorry. From
Oh,
afar, it looked like
wow.
the inclination's a little. Would you be willing to take it off and give us a little show and tell?
So let's see if I can get it close enough so that you can see the colors.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Can you show us the back where you seamed it? Wow. Did you find that difficult to do?
No, I did that. They suggested the mattress stitch. So I just laid the two pieces side by side and took a little from each side as I went, and it butted it together really well. And
Pat, I love it. The fit is really great on you.
It's, it's not, I was expecting it to be huge because of the picture on the pattern.
Yeah.
And I think my yarn was, well, it was the, I don't remember right now, sorry, but it was more like a little heavier than a fingering weight. So it wasn't a fingering weight, but it said it was supposed to be like a worsted, but I don't think it was that heavy. So it knitted up, I think,
Beautiful.
not
Yeah.
tighter, but smaller than I was expecting, but it's perfect. It
It's
fits
perfect.
really snug.
Gorgeous.
And
It
all the
looks
colors
beautiful on
just,
you.
the colors just all blended together. They came out different than I expected. It was just a joy through the whole process.
Can I ask what yarn you did use for that?
Okay, yes, you sure can. All I gotta do is find it. Hang on.
It's magnificent, really.
It really is. And I think that is the case, with this pattern, when you're using a slightly lighter weight yarn than the picture, you are going to get a smaller garment, which to my mind, I find a little more wearable for my purposes.
I keep a book, I'm sure you girls do too, of everything I
Oh,
ever
no.
with
Oh.
copies of the
Oh.
yarn bands and copies of the yarn and the description of what I've done. The only thing is, by the time I get ready to make it, I forget how much I paid for the yarn. So there's no way to put in there what this will
Right.
cost. But let's see. It is the Queensland Rainbow Beach.
Wow,
Nice.
beautiful.
So,
And the
I love
color.
your journal.
and the three colors were, it was a gray called Dark Peak. And the blue is called Yarra River. And the red was called Sunset. And all from the same
Beautiful.
Queensland Rainbow Beach collection. And I was really pleased because I'm a blue girl. I love blue. And that blue just was beautiful through the whole thing.
It really is.
And that was my secondary color. That wasn't my primary. So the first color, number one color was the gray. And I don't see gray. I see blue.
Oh,
So
Interesting.
anyway, turned
Yeah.
out really, really nice.
And
Beautiful.
Pat, I think what you speak to is that there is this, no matter how much we try to make engineered and measured decisions with our colors and the placement, there's kind of a fun surprise synergy that this pattern elicits or
is.
something. Yeah.
It really is. Because those colors, I don't have a light, medium, and dark. They're kind of all the same value, I guess you'd say. And so when they played with each other, this happened. I can't remember the name of that artist, but the lady that uses all the blues and the vivid colors and makes the cats. You see it a lot in
Like
in
Laurel
embroidery
Birch?
work. Who?
Laurel Birch?
Yes, that's what these colors remind me of, is
Indeed.
Laurel Birch. Very vibrant. So
Nice.
anyway,
Thank you so much and congratulations.
thank you.
Follow-up question, do you think you'll make another shift or you got other projects on the queue?
I do have other things going. As a matter of fact, I just finished a hat while I was waiting in between. I found this pattern. It's on Ravelry by Jody Brown, the grocery girls.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's with you either hold 2 DK weight yarns or use bulky yarn. And I love this little pop of color in here. Right now it's just white, but it's a great stash buster. So I thought I would try that while I was waiting for whatever's coming next.
It's fabulous.
But I might make another one. I want to look through my stash and see what I've got that would lend itself to do that
Great.
again.
Well, Catherine, if I can call on you next, it looks like you're going gangbusters with yours. Can you give us an update?
Sure.
Oh,
It is. I
Ooh, that's pretty.
Yeah, I really like the way that the when I inverted the colors, the variegated as the background and then that peach color, I love the way that looks.
Wow.
Can you remind us of your yarn?
So I am using yarn that I got from 3 Irish girls. It was an independent 3 women who hand dyed yarn.
Mhm.
And I got a like a yarn of the month club for my father-in-law one year for Christmas. And so you got to pick your weight and your colorway. And so I had all this yarn to use. So this worked out perfect.
I love it. It's beautiful.
Is that
Thank you.
fingering weight?
You know what? It says that it's like a sport weight, but it's thinner
Really?
than that.
It's gorgeous.
Thank you.
so much for sharing. Anybody else feel like a show and tell? I didn't mean to call on you like cold, Catherine, but I was like, what is she working on? I have
No,
to see.
that's fine.
I'm still adding colors.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
great, Ronnie.
I'm on section 5. I'm at the end, pretty much the end of section 5. And the only thing I am going to do is I saw in your note, I wanted to ask you about this. Saw in your note how section 6 and 7, you're dropping A, your main color that you carry through. But I hope it looks okay. But I'm going to keep carrying the A, and then no.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Okay.
Yes.
And then because I have only 2 more colors, which is a neon green, and then ending with this hot pink. So
I think that is so fabulous, Ronnie. I think you have a great vision for this, and I love that you incorporated that charcoal as your solid background, and then are just playing with those pops. I mean, yeah, I think you're onto it.
I figured that
Mhm.
no non-knitter is ever going to know what I knit anyway. And so when I wear over my black suits and charcoal suits, this to work or to Zoom meetings right now, I mean, nobody will say, oh, I know what that is. You're wrong.
No, they definitely will not. They will be just flabbergasted by the fun pops of color. I think it's a great vision and a really nice way to use those bits of yarn like you were telling us.
But then I'm doing it in fingering weight on a size 6 needle, so it is coming out to gauge. But I'm going to the second one. I'm really enjoying this. And the second one, I'm going to use the Spin Cycle Dyed in the Wool Sport Weight, which it really called for anyway. And I'm going to do it right by the book. And then gift it to someone.
You're making your own rules, and I think that's a real valid way to approach it too. I see that Wendy, you have a small friend on your lap.
Yes, she interrupted us last week. She just appeared.
Oh,
Yes, so this is mine.
Oh,
And
wow.
Pretty.
I'm using all the same color as the background and just changing colors every section. So I'm using all stash yarn, but a lot of it is from, I've had it a while from when the place in Blue Hill, the woman up there, String Theory.
Yes.
I'm using up that and a lot that I did an adventurer cowl that, I don't know if it's a Casapinka or a Maori pattern, but I had like all these koji or komi variegated ones. So I'm just using the solids and the variegated and alternating.
I feel better now. We're doing the same thing. I'm using all the stash yarns for the different colors and carrying the background color up.
And I'm going to do the same thing you did in that I did this as practice. And then the next one I have some Spin Cycle Sport Weight. So I'm doing exactly the
Me
same
too. Me too.
Love that.
Thank you.
Thanks for hopping on today.
And your daughter is gorgeous. Adorable.
It's my granddaughter, but thank you.
You're welcome. Well, you look young enough. That's fine.
Thank you.
Great.
Yeah, that's you. Yeah.
Awesome. Anybody else feel like hopping in here with a little question or a show and tell?
I'd like to know what Jill is wearing.
Oh yeah, what's Jill wearing this week? That's that's
Okay.
going to be a regular
I
segment
finished my
here.
first one and I stuck to the rules. Not only that, my friend, I wore it online just an hour ago in my regular knitting group. And my friend said, turn it sideways and put the
Mhm.
point down over your shoulder. And holy cow, it just adjusts itself. It's wonderful. And so then I decided to work on one for my sister who only wears blue, except that she now wants to try to add purple. And so I dug into my stash, and here's where I am so far. And what I'm on section 5 right now. The rest of the sections are going to be various shades of blue, but I may bring the turquoise back at the end just to kind of bring it around.
Oh
But
my God, what
it's really fun. And what I'm knitting with
half knitter?
is I have a drawer full of all kinds of fingering yarns that have become orphans. And so what I've done is with my spinning wheel, apply 2 of them together and get a little more color depth that way and use up a lot of things. However, I want to check in with the Cashmere Goat Shop and get some yarn that is really set up for this project and quit fooling around with all my fingering yarns. So number 3 will be by the rule. Oh, I wanted to tell you, I used a different rule for the colors here. The color that is the little dots and the background's turquoise, and this is kind of a deep blue. But then the little dot color becomes the background for the next one. And then the little dot color, which is lavender, becomes the background for the next one, and moving on through. And I'm hoping that'll kind of give you a bit of a flow, but we'll see how it turns out. So I just
Wow.
wanted to add that. Oh, and also I did a very careful check on the pattern. And my opinion is that the pattern's right on, and that if you're not coming out even, it's you. And
That was sort of what I had. Yeah, the same for I concluded for that for myself was that it was really me just spacing out and not being attentive.
But your email was fabulous of sort of telling people who haven't a lot of knitting experience how to fix it, or even those who kind of do. Give us some ideas. Your little triangles made a lot of sense. And that was, I think, really appreciated. I think Mallory is a wonderful designer. I wonder if she has a tech editor she works with. Does anybody know?
She does, and I saw she's got a podcast on YouTube that she puts out every Fridays, and I was just recently watching an episode where she and her tech editor were on together. It was very fun to listen to them. I will try to dig up that that episode. I'm making a note. But Jill, I have to applaud you because the one you're wearing is fabulous. I love what you said in that it absolutely is a cowl that styles itself. You put it on and it's like, boom, you're ready for the party.
And my friend has one that she made, and she pulls it up over her head as a hood and wears it backwards, and it works perfectly.
Well, can I tell you, do you remember the email not so long ago where there was a gentleman wearing the cowl, wearing the shift? Did you get that email?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, yep. So that is Kristen, the Cashmere Goats, our owner. That's her husband, Patrick, and she had that was hers, and she was like, had it around, and she kept coming down in the mornings, and there would be Patrick with the cowl on, and he would, on a chilly morning, he would have it around his little head like the hood, she said, and she just couldn't get over it. And so finally she had to give in and give it to him, but he did she took a great photo of him wearing it in the more traditional way, but it was really nice to see a man wearing it. And actually my husband saw the social media post and he said, so I saw that guy wearing the shift. Are you going to knit me one? And I was like, I'm knitting you a sweater right now. So the answer is not yes.
That's all you
But
get.
Jill, I just love your colors. And I don't think that you have to worry about being off book or on book, because what you're doing is fabulous. So I just say keep having fun with it.
Oh, it's been fun. I just wanted to also say that my friend who lives in Truckee out in California in the middle of ski country has been knitting them for guys, and they love to wear them for skiing because when it's really cold, they can pull them up like this. And I guess they're popular on the slopes out there.
Well, there's 11,000 of these shifts out there, according to Ravelry. And who knows, that's just the number of people that have put it on Ravelry, right? I mean, here we are, we're all making 2, 3, some of us.
Can't stop. They're really great.
And I go back to that. One of the reasons why I think it is a popular pattern is because there is this sort of sense of you're playing with color You're not overly invested. It's not a massive amount. You can use stash yarn and just sort of enjoy the thrill of messing around and seeing what happens, right?
I know this will sound ridiculous, but when you see the pattern and you see Andrea Mallory wearing the pattern, that's the enticement. That's the lure. Lures you right in. Of course, I wish I looked like her, but I don't. But man, I'd like to wear something that looks like that.
Yeah, I've made a bunch of her sweaters, but I have to shorten the arms by quite a bit and the length by quite a bit. She is a very tall, skinny woman.
Yeah.
I'm making her sweater called Gib. That's the one I'm knitting for my husband. And I might have mentioned it, but it is, I'm using Cumbria, and it's just the most beautiful, beautiful. It's called Blackback, and it is, in this light, it looks beautifully like this halo of mohair teal, but a lot of times it just looks dark. And it's my project that I absolutely have to knit in good lighting because it's dark yarn. Got to keep in my pattern. And so I know my limits. I know when I can knit that one. All right. Who else wants to share or ask questions? Anybody? Hey, Mary.
Hi. I just am, I would say, I don't know if you can see, I'm about 3/4 of the way through section 4. So it's coming along. I'm pretty happy with it.
It looks to me like you've got some purple in there. Is that right?
Yeah, it's sort of a, this is a done roving, it's pinky purples, I guess you would say. And it every once in a while, it kind of almost goes to brown, which is sort of interesting. But I'm very happy with how it feels. And this good Karma yarn is just luscious after you get to knitting it. It feels a lot better when you're knitting it than when you're winding it. So
great. It looks like it's coming right along.
Yeah, I can't imagine how people have gotten 2 done, but anyway, I'm hoping I get finished by the end of the month. Well, so we'll see. And
I think you're well on your way, because remember, those last couple sections you're decreasing, so it just sort of feels like a quick and slippery slope downhill.
Oh, okay. I still feel like I've got a ways to go before that happens, but thank you. And just to let you know, I have to leave in a little bit. I have another thing I have to go to this evening, but I do so enjoy this. And I'm hoping that on the 26th to try to get up to join you at the shop. So we'll see.
Oh, that would be so fun.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mary. Jean, are you ready to show and tell with your better lighting? You said you were in search of better lighting.
Okay, let's see if this is gonna work. Sorry, this room, it doesn't look dark, but I guess it is. So I'm moving along. You can remember how little I had done last time, but I stopped into the shop and Miranda helped me get back on track. So you can see, I feel like I'm getting in a rhythm. I like the way it's coming out. It actually doesn't look as good in this light as I think it looks in person, but I'm excited about it. I'm only not even finished with section 2 yet, so I'm very impressed, Jill, that people have 2 done. But anyway, I'm excited and, you know, already thinking about what colors I could do for another one. So thanks.
That's wonderful. And I'm glad that we didn't scare you off with like the scary, like, is the pattern messed up? Is it us? But it looks like you are making great headway and great gains.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Excellent. Hey, Mary.
Can I just share one other thing? One of my friends is on, she works for, I think it's the Maine Council for Humanities or something along those lines. And she has been given a 2-month sabbatical, but as part of that, she has to do a project and she's doing it on fiber arts in Maine. And she stopped by the shop. She had never been in there before. She had gone all the way to the Abbey Museum on Saturday to take a look at some of the baskets and things that were there. And she stopped in the shop and we've been talking about this project that I'm on, and she started her shift yesterday.
Oh,
So after seeing what you had in the store, and you know, I sent her one of the newsletters that you sent and everything. So I just think it's great that a organization is paying somebody to be on sabbatical in this day and age. I know a lot of tech companies do that, but not hundreds of other companies do that. And it was so cool that your shop stuff inspired her to keep moving with this. So
that's a great story. So she bought yarn when she visited?
I think she bought yarn
Yeah.
a couple places over the weekend. So I don't know which yarn she picked to do her project with, but she stopped at the Maine Alpaca Experience and stopped at your shop and someplace else, and she's also I think she had also gone to Knitwit in Portland this week too, because she hadn't been in there. So she's just making the rounds for this project, but I think it's going to end up costing her more than if she was working.
Well, maybe she'll be, you know, making a few shifts before she's done, but I'm so happy that she's been finding some inspiration and to sabbaticals.
Yeah.
That sounds so
well,
good.
And she's a very generous knitter. Last year, she made 20 sweaters and hats to donate to Mid-Coast Hospital for their newborn unit. So she gets a lot of knitting done. I don't know how she does it, but she's great like that. So
well, thanks for sharing.
Worthy person to have a sabbatical. So
I'd like to do a knitting sabbatical.
A knitting sabbatical.
24/7 I'll be knitting.
Well, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for sharing, like, you know, encouraging her to stop in. And that's so much of how this small business ownership works. It's the word of mouth and the people that share their good experiences. So we appreciate that.
Sure. And she's going to have a whole set of notes and a document when she's done about all the different places she's found in Maine. She went to one of the farms, one of the sheep farms. She's just going all over. So it's pretty neat. It's a pretty neat project. And also not just knitting or yarn projects, but anything that's made from any type of fiber. So it's pretty fun.
This is wonderful to hear.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Who wants to hop in here? Danielle, do you want to give us an update? Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Why don't you hop in?
Sharing?
Because maybe Danielle, yeah, you go ahead.
You want me
Susan.
to, or you want Danielle to?
No, you go ahead, Susan.
Okay. I'm not nearly as far along as y'all are, and I cannot knit and watch a Zoom meeting at the same time. But here it is. I'm on section 3. It's hard to see it in here, but I'm really loving it. It's I'm pleased with it. So I do have a question. I wasn't able to join y'all last week. I feel like I struggle in a lot of ways because I'm a relatively new knitter. Like I'm the knitter that still counts after every single row to make sure I'm where I need to be. But like when I'm making one, when I'm going through the back loop, when I make one left, and I'm using a fingering weight yarn. And the needle, I'm using whatever size needle the pattern calls for, but using a fingering weight yarn that I got from you guys. I just feel like it's tight. So is there like a trick to getting into that back loop when or you just got to deal with it?
So, I mean, there's a lot of ways to do it. I will say that, well, we'll open it up to the room too, but I often will pick up the bar in between my needles with my right needle, put it on the left needle, and then sometimes I'll just like I'll use my finger. I don't know if you can see, I like pick the yarn up and slide my needle in, because I'm like you. I mean, usually it's tight, and so I usually give it a little an assist with my finger, and I don't think that's cheating because you just have to do what you can do. But Pat, did you want to chime in too?
Only to say that I really liked your tip, because I too used to struggle with trying to get my needle through that back loop.
Yeah.
But when I pick from using your tip, when I pick it up, I hold it there and then put my left needle in and knit it. So instead of letting it go, I just let that
Okay,
right needle hold that thread up in the back and then knit through the back loop.
okay,
Okay, yep.
good to know. Thank you.
Yeah, because I was having trouble with that too.
Like splitting my
not-
thread and all kind of things, like the yarn, like,
I know. I used to split it. I would split it. You know, I would
me
split my yarn.
too. It's
So
very
it was a mess.
stressful.
So when Iris showed that on one of your emails, I think you showed that or mentioned that or something, Iris. And I thought, wow, this is revolutionary. Love it.
Thank
Anybody else
you.
have a good tip for that?
Yeah,
always
that
looking-
also helped me a lot was what you had said to do. And then inadvertently, I usually use metal needles and I switched to a wood needle only because I needed a longer one. And I found the wooden needle, I usually don't like to knit with wood, but it really helped because of the fine fingering weight and picking up the stitch in the front of the book. But your analogy with the mountain too, that helped me. So I finally got that down, and I loved the other thing was putting markers, and I put marker every 20 stitches. So because I'm like a counter too, and someone suggested putting markers in. And so
Okay,
I always have
I
to
missed
feel
that.
like I'm
Okay,
on
good
track.
idea.
Thank you, but
Thank
all the
you.
tips have really helped. Thank you so much.
Is anybody
Okay.
else using Knit Companion?
Yes, I use it and I love it. I was making fiddlehead mittens. Have you made the fiddlehead mittens?
Talking. Oh, no, I
Fiddlehead,
haven't.
These mittens? I'll put them up.
Oh, those are so nice.
Beautiful.
Those are
I always
really
think
nice.
they're from Maine, and one of the people at my local store she's done so many, and this was my first color work, and I was so intimidated by it. But I'm using like a 10-inch circular, and then I use the Knit Companion with all the charts and everything, and that's the only way I've been able to really do it.
I think it's really very helpful on this for keeping track of the counts. I have counters set up for the row number, the section number, and the number of stitches, and I just kind of keep them rolling, and that's really been a big help. That, and I put my markers every 10 because I can at a glance tell whether I've got 10 or 9 or 11. So,
And I will say that I really like Knit Companion, except for I got myself way off track last night because we had power outage and I somehow was not loading. And then I was like, no, I'm pretty sure I know where I am. And we can know how that turned out. But I love the Knit Companion. It seems great. I use it a little differently with my counters, but I think it's a really awesome resource. And for sure, if I was traveling or something, wouldn't it be great to just have to deal with that? And also the fact that I'm on these 2 patterns and I can flick between my projects so easily and keep track of where I am. So thanks so much for that tip. Yeah.
are you using it on an iPad or on your phone?
Just on my phone.
Yeah, I like it.
Although
I'm using it on an iPad right at the moment, but I usually use it on my phone, and I like that better. The iPad, if I accidentally brush it, all of a sudden all my counters change. And that's kind of odd. Maybe it's just because I'm not used to my new iPad, but I really like the phone. And if I go to a yarn store, I've got all my patterns right there.
great.
Wow.
Danielle, did you want to hop in now or?
Sure. Sorry, I have some background noise. We got the shows going for the kids, so I can participate. This is, so I am, hey, can you control the noise? Thank you. I'm in my combined section where I combined section 3 and 4. So I did for section 3, I did the single. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I did the singles of the color A and then the doubles of color B. And so I put a lifeline in here before I like veered away from the pattern in case it doesn't work, but I think it's gonna work. I tried to make a paper model and like cut a bit out or fold a bit to see how it would work, and then it didn't work. It didn't line up. I had like a big jagged thing in my paper. So, but then Iris, when you sent me your photo of your, like the flat schematic of yours, I think it helped me visualize, because I was thinking that once you get to the tip, then you're decreasing from both ends again, like you're increasing in the beginning, but it's not, it's just the bind off. So I think if I get to the end and it's too short, like I can just add another section and kind of just modify it that way. So I'm thinking it's going to work, but I think it was Jill, you were saying that the skiers like to pull it up over your nose. Like I like to do that too. So that's why I want it to be a little tighter so it will stay up is the idea. So we'll see how it works. Maybe it has like too much drape for that and just looks kind of tight, but if it does, then I'll pull some back and add a little more.
That's
Danielle,
very cool.
I love that you did the paper model, and somebody just wrote in the chat, wow, that is so STEM. I love that you had, yeah, thanks.
One of
Rose.
you suggested it last week and I was like, I don't think it's gonna work. And I was like, let me try it. It didn't work, but I tried it.
That's cool.
That's
That's
fantastic.
very cool.
Great. Thank you. I saw that Meryl, did you have a question for us? Sorry, welcome.
Hey, thanks. I just got back from 3 weeks of a road trip in my new to me van. I went all the way to Florida for an interpreting workshop and came back, and I brought all of my yarn for this all the way to Florida and back and didn't touch it once, except for when I showed it to my friend in DC, who is the one who said, oh, you learn how to make this and then show it to me. So I am now pulled it out of the van, and I realized I started this 2 years ago, like at the beginning of the pandemic or during pandemic, and I put it down and haven't touched it since. So I kind of don't know where I am. I didn't even make notes of which colors were A, B, or C, but thanks to this support group, I am looking at it and the instructions, and I see that purple is A, maroon is B, and magenta black held together is C. And that's all I need. I just counted, I have 57 stitches. So I guess that means I'm still in section 2.
Amazing. Meryl, you've done some good detective work, and more power to you for jumping back in with it. And just to clarify, did you join us from the van the first week?
Yes, and I was driving and couldn't pull out my yarn and didn't even remember what my colors were. So, yeah. So now I'm
Great.
back home, and this is my Zoom/work studio. And no matter what I do with the light, it's still not going to show you the colors correctly. So I'm in awe of those who have completed one and come back for more. That shows to me that it is possible and you didn't die from it. And
I love it. Meryl, thank you so much. I'm so glad you're with us. And just as a side note, my son is in his second semester of taking ASL for the first time in college. So he decided to
wow.
do ASL for his foreign language, which is so fun. I had no idea that he had an interest, but he's liking it so far, really a lot.
Where's he going?
He goes to McDaniel, which is in Maryland. They have a, I think, pretty good ASL program. And he
Yes,
didn't,
it is renowned.
cool.
It is renowned. And some of the people who teach interpreting at the University of Southern Maine are graduates of there.
That's awesome. He said after the first day, you know, he was like, Mom, the professor is deaf. So we had an interpreter for her today on the first day, but then that's it. That interpreter is going away and it's immersion. And I was like, woo, that's great.
Yes, I would be the interpreter who shows up for the first day. So, I mean, not at McDaniel's, but at the University of Southern Maine.
Great. Well, thanks again. And I'm so glad you're back with us and back on track with your shift.
Thank you, support group. Wish
Who
me
else would like to jump in here? Oh, is that Rose?
That's me, yeah.
Hi,
So,
Rose.
hi, everybody. I'm a teacher, and I have to say, I mean, I was the one who said the STEM and about the counting. I teach 4th to 5th grade my entire 27 years as a career. And one of the things I always tell my students is like the math you use in elementary school is the math you use the rest of your life. You know, yes, you're going to use things from, you know, high school, middle school, not to downplay those at all, but it's the foundation. So much of what you're saying is like, so yeah, we do STEM projects, and the idea of like, the paper model, I was like, whoa, that's exactly what we do. Like when we're doing nets to see like how a box or the volume, the outside, the visualized models, the idea of like systematically setting out yourself up for success, the idea of, putting those markers in place, is similar to when I have my kids use an organizer to help think about schematically how they might set something up. So it really is about the fact of, one of the things I love about knitting on so many levels, it's an analogy for life on so many levels. So thank you for confirming that. I wish I could have, recorded some of those snippets and to play it for my kids. Because I also ski. And one of the things I always tell my students, it's an analogy for math. It's like, don't let the mountain win. Like, don't back up from the mountain, get up and over those skis. Same thing with the math problems. Like, no, don't sit back from them, get on top of that math problem and, break it down, etc. So knitting is a similar type of rich with analogies for life. So thanks, everybody. Oh, here's really quickly my yarn, and I'm alternating. I have 2 C colors. This pop of slightly metallic orange coral, and then a deeper teal that I'm alternating as I work through my my project.
Rose, it is beautiful. And where are you joining us from again?
Brooklyn, New York, although I'll be up there. I had met you on the J.E. Riggins.
Yeah.
Right, for September, and I'm going to be back there for June. I loved it so much, and particularly when I found out you're going to be on the boat. I was like, yay. I really
Well, so-
have to go. And my other friend, Iris, the one I asked you about, who's in England, I don't see Aileen on here at the moment, but she had been to your shop. When I mentioned, she sent me back pictures, and I know Cashmere Goat. So I'm very excited to be back on the Knit and Sail with Mary and, Sawmill Creek events. But a large part of it is because I was really taken with your online experience, what you presented, and how you presented when you came on ship for the pop-up shop, and just to see more time and get to your store, hopefully. Because I'm from Brooklyn.
That is awesome. There's so many great things about everything you just said that I love. Wow. And yes, you should definitely make sure you get into the shop. And Aileen did sign up for the knit along, so who knows, maybe she will get to pop into one of these Zooms sometime, although the time change is a little challenging for our friends in the UK. But I'm married to a math teacher, so I totally get what you're saying in terms of, the mathematical thinking. He's also a knitter. But the way that good math teachers, and we need more of you in elementary school for sure. But the way that a good math teacher can stimulate that interest in the resilience of problem solving. And I think it's such a gift because, it's applicable everywhere. And so when you hear but why do I have to learn this for my life? It's like, it's not about the numbers. It's about the problem solving that you're learning, right?
Yep. It's an analogy for life. It really is. It really is. Someone just posted something. I'm just going to go quickly to the chat to see. Someone said math knitting group. So thanks, everybody. And I'll definitely try to jump in next week. And so I'm finishing up section 2, getting to section 3.
Okay, awesome. It's Jill. Jill, I'm writing down your email right now. Maybe my husband wants to join you.
Oh, we'd love to have more people. We've done really a lot of projects, and right now we're just starting a new one. We all decided that pie was a good subject since yesterday was Pie Day. And so we started out looking at pie hats, but we decided we'd like to knit some socks. So we're about to start those this week. And I've been trying to talk people into doing a pie shawl, but if you've ever done one, it's a huge project.
Amazing. And Rose,
So we'll
just
see
so
what
you
happens.
know,
Anyway, it's been going for quite a while. Had a big exhibit last year.
Okay.
Say that one more time, Jill.
We've knitted a lot of objects and learned a little bit of math along the way. Basically, it's knitters who are curious about math but are not math people. And so we sneak in the math, but we did a good exhibit at the Castine Public Library last year. And we're working toward doing another one. We just did a whole thing of making you know what a torus is? It's a donut, knitted donuts. And so we have baskets of knitted donuts and we're trying to decide what to do with them next. So anyway, if anybody's at all curious or interested, do contact me because I'd love to have more people in the group.
That is awesome.
And warning, you'll learn a little bit of math along the way, but not deep.
Not a bad thing.
So one time I was knitting a scarf and it turned into a math project without me realizing it. I was using a mohair silk and I wanted to create something that was a little bit ruffly. And I knew that it was, I don't know, I looked online and I was just like, well, whatever, I'm just going to see what happens. And I ended up creating, this incredible spiral because I was making, is it hyperboles? I don't know.
Hyperbolic surface.
Yes, I was making a hyperbolic surface without realizing it. I was like, wow, this is a really cool little ruffle. I guess
And we've knitted a whole bunch of those and crocheted a few, and we had an exhibit of them, and we're hoping to get enough interest in both coral reefs and saving the coral reefs and in making some more of these things because they're so much fun to knit. And we'd like to do another exhibit here in Castine, maybe at the Maine Maritime Academy. They have a huge exhibit space. So we'll see. If we get enough people knitting, we can do that.
Okay.
But we need people across the country because Castine's a tiny town and there are only so many knitters.
Like X number of knitters, right? Okay.
That's right.
Okay, and Rose, one last follow-up, which is that, because I want you to know what you're getting into. You're not going to meet me on the cruise, but you will meet Kristen, who is our awesome goat leader, and you will love her. She was there she was there with the pop-up shop last year, but this year she's actually getting to go on the cruise, and I know it's going to be super fun for her. So I'm going to be in the shop, which is also going to be super fun, but you'll get to be on the water with her.
I'm looking forward to it, and I will definitely try my best to get down. I do have to take off a day or two from school on either end, but that's okay. And because school in New York City goes very late to the end of June, but that's okay. I'll be back for the very last day and to give those report cards out because that's what they want. And I will make somehow time to make sure to get over there because when I saw the pictures that Aileen had posted, I was just like, okay, the online experience I had was confirmed by those visuals. So really nice. Thank you. Thank you.
Fantastic. Any other folks got to share? I see a very sweet little hand that just came up in Danielle's window. Oh, little hand.
I would show you her face, but she's eating.
The hand is a great little teaser. So watch your email on Sunday. There will be a funny little video that I just made this morning because I messed up last night in the power outage. I thought like, oh, I can knit my shift, no problem in the terrible lighting. Well, today it was ripping it out time. So I made a funny little video to go with that experience. So that'll come out in Sunday's email. Oh, Meryl, were you?
Lifelines in?
That was a tip that we heard, that we had a couple, maybe last weekend in our in-person meetup that some folks have adopted was at the beginning of each new section, put in a lifeline. But, I was just overconfident, like, hey, this is my second shift. I don't need a lifeline. And how silly I was. But yeah, lifeline. And then as you heard, like Jill and a couple other knitters here have been adding stitch markers every 10 or 20 stitches just to make the counting a little less arduous.
I love that they give the total number of stitches expected at the end of each section.
And that's when I count, right? And that last row.
Yes. Quick question. Iris, I know you had mentioned something when I sent you a photo. So the shift is not to be super structured, but depending on your preference, one's preference for drape. So I'm mixing DK weight, one that is really bordering, one it looks more like a worsted. It says DK, but it's the white one.
Mhm,
Pop of orange, the coral is actually a sport weight.
mhm,
Find the mixture of textures, and I went up to a size 7.
mhm.
Is then how, where is that range of being too stiff and too drapey? So in other words, I think I'm doing fine with it. This, I guess, is directed to people who have already done a shift once. This is my first. I don't think it's too stiff. I've certainly been very mindful of opening up and breathing so things don't stay tight as they do a little bit in the beginning. But where, does anyone have a, for what the yarn I'm using? So it's mainly DK, one that seems to be a little bit heavier, more towards a light worsted, and one yarn that is definitely sport. So there's a mix, size 7. Do you think I'm on gauge? I don't think it's too stiff, particularly after I block it maybe a bit, or maybe shouldn't block it. So any tips towards that, I'd appreciate.
No, she suggests that you block the piece before you sew it up. And the other thing I found is most yarns, when you wash them, are much softer. And I
Yes.
think that'll be true of this one too. So you might consider washing it and blocking it and laying it out and then sort of pin it together and try it on and see what you think before you get too much further.
Oh, really? Wow. And then blocking it in process. I've never done that before.
Well,
Okay,
if you think about it, they put all kinds of stuff into the wool when they spin it to make it easier to spin, oils and lanolin. And the other thing is, so a lot of yarns have a stabilizer in them, but when you wash it, it goes away.
I never even thought about that. That's yes, the part you just said, but not the part about blocking it. So would I put it on a lifeline or keep it on the needles, or am I spraying it? I'm not, would you recommend fully wet blocking or just like a steam block?
Oh no, if you just steam block it, it won't get softer.
Well, it's gotta be a,
Because if you think about it, sheep are dirty, mills are dirty, except for really processed yarn. An awful lot of yarns really soften up nicely when you wash them. But a lot of my friends just steam block, but I'm a fan of real blocking.
okay. So is that what you're recommending in process? Wet block
Look,
it?
that's my idea, but who else has ideas? I mean, certainly our leader probably has ideas.
And Jill, one more thing. If I do wet block, put it on scrap yarn or keep it on the needles. I mean, I have metal, so that's not the problem as far as I could order.
If you have something like knit picks, you can just put stoppers on the ends of the cables. But if not, I would just run a yarn through it with your yarn needle and be done with it. It'll be
Okay,
easy to put back on.
I have a question. And maybe this is pertaining to something you might think about. If you're looking at Pat wearing her shift and you're looking at Jill wearing her shift, you've knit the same shift, except Pat's you wear, and it fits more like the shift Andrea Mallory is wearing.
Yes.
And yours, Jill, is very drapey. So what do you think is the difference?
The yarn.
Mhm.
I ignored her yarn entirely and just
Well, what weight
made up
yarn, what weight yarn did you use?
I used 2 strands of fingering yarn, but I plied them together on my spinning wheel.
Right, and what size needle?
And it's a 5 or a 6, whatever she recommended.
And Pat, your yarn was what weight?
Mine was a light worsted.
Oh yeah.
And
That's
what
much
size
heavier.
needle?
I'm sorry, what kind of needles? Whatever the
what
pattern
size?
called for it. I don't have my pattern right here, but it was whatever the pattern called for. Was it a 5? Yeah, 5.
Okay.
Okay.
But I think it has to do with the yarn and the construction of the yarn and the fiber that's used to make that yarn, because
Right.
once I wet blocked mine and I soaked mine for 20 minutes in warm water and rinsed it out and then let it dry and then pieced it together afterwards. And it's gorgeous.
I got to tell you.
It's not
seriously.
stiff, but it's not really flimsy either. It's just
Right.
really wonderful. That
I-
Queensland yarn was great.
I think a heavier yarn is better, really.
I agree with you. I didn't
I think
realize
they're
it until I'm just
beautiful both
looking
ways.
at you both wearing the shift, and you're wearing them completely differently, and it is because of the yarn. Yeah.
Well, the
So-
other factor though is always the knitter and how tight you tend to knit.
I'm not a tight knitter, but I don't ever have to worry about gauge. I'm always right there. So
No, right. I'm using fingering weight, and I am right on gauge.
Yeah.
And I'm using a size 6 needle. But I hope that mine is like yours, not too drapey, although it's beautiful on you, Jill. On me, I think
a little stiffer, a little
Yeah.
more body.
We'll
It's
look
got a
better
little more body,
wearing my suits. Yeah,
but it's
I'm
a
gonna-
little denser, I think.
right. Denser.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
I
Sorry,
think
Iris.
it does really have to do with yarn, as you say. I mean, the first one that I knit was the Machida, which is a single ply. It's the fingering Malabrigo, and it definitely has a light softness. And I'm actually in the chat right now. I'm gonna send the picture of Kristen's husband in the cowl, if for those of you who didn't see it already. And I'm also gonna send so, and maybe Rose, this could be helpful. So for my fingering weight, which is going to be small, which was definitely smaller in dimensionally than what the dimensions on the actual pattern are. But I had wonderful Miranda, because I was away from the shop. I had wonderful Miranda take quick measurements of the shop sample, which was kind of was the same yarn as what I was using. And so I was just interested to know what those dimensions were. And it was instructive, helpful for me to just go, okay, this one that I was modeling mine after, which was a little bit smaller. I mean, it was like closer fitting, but kind of like yours, Pat, but like just overall dimensionally smaller. So you can see it was only 8 inches on that back seam. And so that was like, and so the one I'm making right now was more like 9 inches on the back seam. You know, it's a little bit different yarn. It's a little thicker. So, you know, I think it kind of will look great no matter what. I mean, honestly, it'll be maybe different looks and, but helpful to kind of see like, yeah, it can still work on a slightly smaller yarn and with a slightly different dimensional shape.
Mine is 8 inches on the back seam.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Nice.
thank you, ladies. Because I was just wondering about, you know, the ease of wear. And so, like I said, it's my first. I love I love the way the colors are coming out, and just thinking about the drape exactly as you said, because that's, I think, is so key with this. In addition to, to me, it's a secondary thing after the shifting of the colors and the pattern, and then it's like, okay, intermeshed with that is the drape. Like whether you're gonna wear it or it's just gonna look pretty over there on the back of a chair or something. Right?
Warm, feels good.
I really love how yours sits
Great.
on your
Oh,
pat.
excuse me.
Oh, go ahead, Jill.
You know what's great about this pattern? It seems like no matter what you do, it's wonderful.
It is. It's its own being. Yeah, it's wonderful. I agree.
I love it. I'm glad I started it finally.
It's very meditative.
Has anyone done her shawl version of this, the night shift? I think that one's with much thicker yarn, and I'm so curious about the drape of that. I don't know if it's worsted or Aran, but it looks really cozy.
I know someone in the shop who has been working on a shift cowl as like a preface to her night shift shawl. Like she has the yarn for the night shift, but she thought this would be a good warm up just to see how she likes the pattern and the stitch. Yeah.
Mallory has a cardigan that is this kind of design of textile, and one of my friends just asked to make one of those. I'm really curious about that. Has anyone made one? Maybe that's our next ambitious project.
I
Well,
watched
so it, oh,
yeah,
go ahead.
I watched her podcast on YouTube. So she talked about the cardigan recently, and it's actually color work, not mosaic, because it's steep.
Oh,
And so she has a pullover that's mosaic, and she has this cowl and the shawl, But then for the cardigan, she had to do just traditional color work because if you she wanted it to be steeped so the colors would match up on both sides. And if you cut the mosaic, she said she tried and it fell apart. So she just changed it.
Ooh. Ooh, she was brave.
Boy, I would think that would depend on the yarn she's using.
I think it also, I think what I remember from that podcast too, Danielle, was that it was something about the long changing colors. So that if you could imagine going, that something about, she wanted the color transformations to be really even, so like they would line up in their color changingness. Does this ring a bell? Am I making that up? Well, we are at 6 o'clock. There's the fastest hour of the week, Bev.
Kidding.
Loveliest hour of the week.
The great hour of the week.
Funnest time of the week.
So fun to see everybody in this little community we've built here on the virtual space.
Thank you for bringing us together.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much for doing
Very
it.
much. Very much.
See you
I
next
did
week.
2 rows.
Me too.
Yay.
Next week, progress.
There you go.
Bye.
Amazing.
Bye.
Bye, you guys.
Bye,
Bye,
everybody.
everyone. Nice seeing you all. Stay well.
You
Have a good
too.
one.
Continue to improve.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Iris, are you working
Yeah.
tomorrow?
I am, and it doesn't look like we're gonna have any bad weather. Are you gonna maybe come down?
We're gonna try. So, I was too embarrassed to show you this. But, you know, it's one, I've had trouble keeping the stitches on the needle. They like to fly away.
Yep.
But I think I've gotten through that, so.
Well, I mean, come on down if you can, and feel free to just sort of like, I want to see your Ramona. We've got a lot of show and tell. We can get you going on the shift and
Yeah,
and further
I'm
down
way
too.
behind on the Ramona, but there's one technique for that I want to go over with you.
Yeah.
The other thing is I'm afraid that once I get to the part where it's just the stockinette stitch, I'm going to so enjoy that I won't work on this. I can't do that. So.
Well, the thing is like, it's nice to have 2 knitting projects. Like,
Yes.
once you get to the middle part of your Ramona, that's a lot to heft around. And if you have to take it to a doctor's appointment, or you're waiting at the Department of Motor Vehicles or something, you might need the shift with you in your bag then.
Yes. Yeah. So, well, but there's no shortage of inspiration on other projects down there either. So yes, I'm hoping to see you tomorrow.
Good. Well, be safe and make a safe decision. And I hope I will see you, fingers crossed.
Super. Thank you ever so much. Always
All right.
appreciate it.
So great to see you.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Bye.